I hope everyone can see. Okay, so I like to present results from the institutional analysis done in the project, and I prepared the presentation together with my colleague Rina Barkhusen. And the focus is here on the involved actors and their roles in the different collective arrangements. What was the motivation to look into this question? While in conventional or mainstream agri-environmental programs, the design is very straightforward. You have mostly individual contracts, one-on-one between a farmer who is a contracted party to generate environmental benefits, which in our project language we call ecosystem services, abbreviated ES, and governmental parties who are the contracting actors of the farmers who provide then payment for the efforts of the different farmers. In the novel contractual agreements that we analyze in the contracts project, which include collective arrangement, but also result-based, value chain and land tenure-based arrangements, the picture is way more diverse. So there are more actors involved, and also it's different how they share different roles in organizing everything. So the aim was to look really to focus in the institutional analysis into look deeper into this involved actors and their roles. And for this presentation, I only focus on collective arrangements. Which cases did we choose? We include one localized agri-environmental scheme from the Pyrenees in France. We also include the countryside stewardship facilitation funds and the facilitation fund groups from England and the United Kingdom. And we analyzed two different environmental collectives as part of the Dutch national program, and also one pilot project from Germany in Saxony-Anhalt. When comparing these different cases, they were all initiated about the same time, around 2060, when this group option became part of the Common Agricultural Policy. But the German one is a bit more recent, started in 2020. Then the contract duration of the contracts with the farmers is ranging between 3 and 6 years. Also in the German project, it gets adapted on a yearly basis. Then number of participants ranges widely between less than 30 and 7,000. This corresponds to the area enrolled, which is on a small scale, it's a bit more than 100, around 200 hectares, and also in the French case, it's 450,000, so really large scale. Targeted agri-ecosystems for the measures are either grasslands or arable land or both. And sometimes the designated area where the measures should be placed is very specific. The funding is always public, with funding coming from EU level or national or subnational level from different public agencies. The contracting is mostly individual with the farmer, and then is coordinated on a higher level, with one exception, which is the French case, where there's really group contracting. So in the group is like several people jointly are contracted. From land ownership, it's mostly privately owned land that is managed, either owned or rented by the farms, with two exceptions in the French and the UK case. Also common land is enrolled in the different schemes. Then how did our methodological approach look? For data collection, we used different methods. We did expert surveys and expert interviews. We also looked at the different websites for the information that was there. Then for the retrieved documents, we looked at that. And for some cases, we also had already published literature, but almost exclusively for the Dutch case. Then in the first step for the data analysis, we did a structured case-by-case description based on Elinor Estrom's institutional analysis and development framework. And this framework, it breaks down the institutional design into 5 aspects. So we analyzed variables describing the contract details, also the context conditions under which the different contracts operate. Then another part is focused on the institutional arrangement to manage the interactions within and between the social and ecological system, that is the targeted actors, and also the targeted ecosystems. And analyzed also which kind of outcomes were aimed for in the different programs and which kind of criteria or indicators were used to evaluate those outcomes. And we documented everything in a large Excel matrix. In a second step, we dived deeper into the single cases, looking for the interactions in the social system, that is the different actors involved and their roles, and also try to document everything in the matrix, listing all the actors and then looking at what kind of roles they perform in the programs. So what kind of roles could we identify besides, like these are the main roles, like we have the farmer or other land managers who are contracted as the one who provide the environmental benefit. Like we term them as ecosystem providers or sellers. And then you have another party that is contracting the farmers and provides them with a payment that rewards them for their efforts. These are the key roles. And other roles we found like actors involved in coordinating other actors, providing advice or extension services to farmers, then actually involve in recruiting participants for the program, do the environmental monitoring or performing controls and sanctioning actors in case of contract violations. Other actors were involved in funding or co-funding. Then another important role was co-designing, both initial design, but also after evaluation, redesign the program and change things. Other roles were reporting, regular reporting, which we differed from evaluation, which was a bit more critical, also questioning like the institutional design and suggesting changes. Then another role was helping to better to target the measures in the at the landscape scale, so placement of measures in the landscape context. Then performing administrative tasks like administering payments. And also a lot of actors were involved in knowledge exchange, like furthering knowledge exchange, pooling of different knowledge sources, or brokering knowledge between actors. And last role was advocacy, that is like certain actors speak on behalf of others or lobby for them at a higher governance level, for instance, at the national or international level. So when looking at the different actors, who is then doing what? Like the contracting parties are mostly private actors like farmers, other land managers or landowners. And in some cases, they can also include public actors, like in the French case, there are municipalities contracted, and they are all based at the local level. And these, besides these key roles at being the person who implements land management measures to provide environmental benefits, they assume additional roles, which, for instance, included being involved in the co-design or redesign, provide knowledge exchange, and also some contractors, some farmers were involved in self-monitoring. And I showed 2 examples, like we did these graphs, which show on the left side all the actors, all the different actors, and on the right side all the different roles, and each link then indicates which actor is involved in the program in what roles. And the first one is shows the French case. And here, like farmer associations or landowner associations or municipalities are contracted parties to provide the environmental benefits, and they are involved, for instance, in coordination efforts, also in self-monitoring of their measures, and they have different formats to further knowledge exchange between the involved actors. Then the second graph shows the UK case of stewardship or facilitation fund groups within the countryside stewardship facilitation funds in the UK. And here contracted parties are also farmers and other land managers. And for them, it's voluntary to join a group where a facilitator provides advice to the different farmers who signed up for a certain group, and so they can explore further options of how they can improve the environmental measures on their farm. And for the farmers, it's voluntary to join such a group. So, and these sometimes when the groups get larger, they sometimes have steering groups. And this helps to coordinate efforts within the group. They also have different, because they had regular meetings and have like farm visits, and they invite experts. Also, they are involved in this furthering of knowledge exchange between farmers. For this program, critical is that not like the effects are not always monitored. Some groups have monitoring in place, but others have not. And also like the effectiveness of having this facilitator involved is not evaluated like on a systematic level. So the facilitators, we did interviews with one master student, and the project conducted interviews with the facilitator, and they do that like for themselves, they say, but they also say that it's sometimes a pity that they can only have time to advise the group as a whole, but then if some farmer is interested, they cannot do one-on-one extension to really say how a certain measure can be implemented on the farm. Then when we look at the parties who do the contracting, like on the other side, who offer payment for the farmers, and then these include newly created or existing civil or hybrid organization. In the case of Germany, the Dutch case, and the UK, or in the French case, it's an existing public agency, and they are all based at the regional level. And their roles, beside this role of ecosystem service buyer, because they offer the payment, they assumed typically roles that were in mainstream contracts are performed by governmental actors. And it's very obvious that they perform the highest number of roles, which seems logical because they are often in this coordinating role of other actors. So for example, here are the German and the Dutch cases, and you can see these are the bluish actors, and they are the ones who have the largest number of ties, indicating like the diverse roles they are involved into. And like for Germany and for Dutch cases, sometimes for the German case, it's a foundation and it was newly created to assume these different roles. Also in one of the Dutch cases, it was a newly created structure, which was on top on already existing networks, but was created to have like the coordination at province level. And for the other example in Groningen, it was already existing. Then the French case is a bit specific, because here it's still a public agency who does the contracting, but it works in tandem with another actor, the gray one, which is also a public actor, but then who engages in these multiple roles to help with the coordination, extension, and coordinating. Then third parties can be involved from all social spheres, like can be private actors, public actors, or civil actors from all governance level, local to international. And they perform specific roles based on their already built up expertise or the available infrastructure they can access. And they provide, for instance, knowledge for improved targeting of measures, offer advice, or do specific governance tasks like administering payments. And examples here are, for instance, for helping to better place measures at the landscape level. Different civil actors are involved, like environmental NGOs in Germany and in the Netherlands. And in the French case, this is a public actor because the measures are also, they are designated protection areas. So it's the public authority involved there. Also, like several projects included advice from scientific projects. For instance, in Germany on the measures, the type of measures they suggested to the farmers. And for the payment administration, often like an already existing, very experienced public agency is included to do this payment administration. For instance, in the Dutch case, it's this RVO. Then what types of conclusions can we generalize? So it seems important to consider the variety of the different roles already in design and think which role can be assumed by either by existing actor, and if no one steps up, does a new actor need to be created, and also see to it that there's no vacant rules like in the UK case where there's no systematic evaluation, because if you spend money, it's advisable or it's helpful if you also evaluate what kind of effects you can achieve with a certain instrument, like putting these facilitators in place. Then it seems important to regard the specific context, because we didn't find like that always the same actor assumes a certain role, but it seems to be dependent on the context and also how actors share different roles. Like, for instance, in the French case, this tandem solution between the public agency and this coordinating actor. Then it also seems important to take into account the number of involved contracted parties. For instance, some cases like in the Limburg collective in the Netherlands, and also for the UK case, some groups are really large. Also the collective in Dutch is more than 1,000 members. So these then put nested governance structures in place. That means they had subgroups, and they were helpful to allow for really better communication within smaller groups within the bigger setting. Then support learning and communication seems important, and as an inbuilt mechanisms, this role sharing and this assuming of multiple roles is a way to combine different skills and also to further knowledge exchange and maximize coordination efforts. And as an example, like in the French case, the farmers mentioned that the self-monitoring was really something they enjoyed, because they did it with biologists or other actors who had a lot of environmental knowledge. And so it was learning for them, but also the other way around, because the monitors also learned what is possible for the different actors involved. And investing in reporting and evaluation roles seems also very important, because this allows to make the gained experience available, both internally for the groups, but also for external actors who want to copy the approach or learn from it. And there it seems also important to think of the language barrier. And one nice example is the evaluation report on the Dutch scheme, because it was first only available in Dutch, but now it's also translated. So it allows a larger number to draw from this knowledge. And yeah, finally, I want also compiling all the data was really a team effort in the project. So I'd like to thank everyone involved in putting the bits and pieces we needed for the analysis together. And I thank you for your for listening and for your attention.